Now, she was an owner of a brothel and former sex worker, and she was protecting working guys and girls from harassment.
We're gonna have some cyberpunk titties
really
for sure.
Continuing her mission.
What's going on, everyone? John Matrix here, and we got some more cyberpunk stuff out. Back in June, they put out, I guess they're doing a Nightwire City episode thing where they're talking about cyberpunk and hyping up the game until it's released. Haven't seen that one yet, and I know they just put a new one out, which has, I guess, a lot of new information about the game. So we're going to check both of these out. Most anticipated game of 2020. Maybe the most anticipated game in a long time. It looks good. It looks good. I'm one of the people, though, that is kind of not necessarily skeptical. It's CD Projekt Red. They're a good company. I just kind of wait for my games, and I like to see them when they're fully released. I don't really like pre-ordering games anymore, just because so many AAA companies that they release a product and it's not necessarily in the perfect state, and it takes, you know, a few patches before they get it set up properly. But I mean, with what CD Projekt Red did with Witcher 3, like, The Witcher 3 is one of the greatest RPGs of all time. Like, it's such a fleshed out and like complete game. Even the side stories in The Witcher 3, they have more complete stories than a lot of, you know, full-fledged AAA titles. Like, it was such a well done and fully thought out and fleshed out game. That being said, though, I really didn't like Witcher 1 or 2. I don't know. I just really didn't like those games. I couldn't get into them. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm very much looking. I'm interested in the game. I'm looking forward to more of it. I hope it's a good game. I really want Cyberpunk to be a good game. It looks like it's going to be a good game, and from everything that I've heard, you know, I'm excited for it. So let's dive into these Nightwire episodes and see what other information is out there. Alright, so new trailer, at least new to me. In-game footage. Like, the graphics look really good. Like, if it's true that, like, all that's really fleshed out and you can explore all those buildings, dude, that's sick. Like, it's crazy that they could do that and, like, not destroy your computer or, like, have your console just explode. It's stuff lap dance, that's a plus.
But we are. They just don't know it yet. But if you got the cojones and you know how to use them, you can do damn near anything.
Nice. We got the like cyberpunk bunny girls. Oh shit.
Go out with a bang, right?
You know,
got the cyberpunk chopsticks.
Motivational speaker.
Yo,
guy just got jacked up.
A pleasure.
So what's
guy's got the Lion-O watch there.
You meant to come out in one piece.
Different vehicles. I wonder if there's like different vehicles for different terrain. Like it look like the kind of like off-road buggy.
There's this prototype tech, a biochip to be precise.
Biochip,
okay.
Guessing it belongs to a court.
Arasaka.
We're robbing some heavy hitters.
RoboCop shit there.
High risk, high reward.
Yeah.
First rule of the afterlife.
Ka-ting, baby.
Goes
That's a
without
sick car.
saying, we do this on the hush.
Looks kind of like a Mustang.
Ideally, no bodies, not a one.
We're not doing that pacifist shit here. We're having bodies everywhere.
He's lead, assholes!
Now I wonder how bullet spongy things are gonna
Don't
be.
you worry, mi amor. We're bulletproof.
I mean, in these clips it doesn't look like it, but I mean, they're just, you know, they could be made that way. Well, we got like predator claws, dude.
Fucking major leagues. Happy now, Jackie?
First mounted rocket launcher, nice.
Oh my god, we're so fucked.
Nice. Good trailer. Good trailer.
Dex, what the fuck?
Can't risk it, V.
And you, who are you? Fuck.
Well. Got Keanu.
So the trailer contains footage from the game's prologue only, but there was an awful lot in it. So,
Yeah, just a
Pavel,
little
why
bit.
don't you try and help us unpack everything that we just saw?
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely, I can try. So, what you have just seen is only the prologue of the game. So that awesome stuff is only happening in the first few quests. What the trailer shows you is really our stage, the Night City. You know, this gigantic city built of 6 completely unique districts, surrounded by the 7th one that we call the Badlands. As a player, you are meeting Jackie. Jackie's your friend. Now, they together are trying to reach out for something that is very precious. They are trying to reach out for this chip of immortality, this gateway to eternal life.
Chip of immortality, huh?
Jackie introduces you to Fixer Dexter Deshawn. He's a very important person in the social ladder of Cyberpunk. He is able to provide the player with various jobs and contracts to be able to gather money, to be able to modify their bodies.
It looks sick
themselves to the
driving
limits
that car in first
to put
person,
their
the
hands
interior
on
there.
The chip. But as you can expect, not everything goes as planned. And but to see it, you will have to play the game.
There are an awful lot of
Obviously.
really cool things in this trailer, and there's a few that I would just love to talk about a little bit more for the people at home. So let's start with talking about a gang called the Mox. Now, we see a few flashes of them in this trailer. I personally think they're really cool and one of my favorites, but can you give us a little bit more information about them?
Oh yes, so the Mox is one of the gangs that player is going to interact with throughout the game. The Mox is the gang that has been formed in 2076 after death of Elizabeth Borden. She was called Lizzie. Now, she was an owner of a brothel and former sex worker, and she was protecting working guys and girls from harassment.
We're
from
gonna have
abuse,
some
and the
cyberpunk
gang is
titties, for
really
sure.
Continuing her mission. And
Although I
as
guess
a
with
player,
strip
you're
club,
going to interact with that gang,
already kind of
meet
gathered
multiple
that.
different NPCs, and craft your own relationship with them, and understand what they are all about.
So earlier on, you did mention a 7th district, a place called the Badlands. Now, we saw a few shots of this in the trailer, but I'd love
Is it
for
really
you to
district? It
give us
looks
a bit
like
more
it's just
detail
desert.
about the district outside of the city walls.
Okay, so the Badlands is this like dead, dried out.
got his
space
AirPods in there.
Going around the whole Night City.
Product
And as a
placement for Apple.
player, You'll be able to traverse that space in your car or motorcycle. This is a space that is inhabited by the nomads. Nomads are living in different families, and they are traveling
So it's the
across
trailer
that
park
space in
district.
convoys made out of the cars and motorcycles. And as a player, you'll be able to traverse and access different type of open world content that has been prepared
That's,
specifically for you
good
to
idea.
get that awesome feel of the Badlands. as
Randomly
an arena.
switching things
In the
around
trailer,
usually
we
is not
also
good with
saw
vehicles.
like a
But
completely
what do I know? I'm
metal
not a mechanic.
creature. Now, he didn't look like he was from the Maelstrom gang. This looked like something else. So please tell the people at home, who is this giant metal monster?
Okay, so that big dude, that was Adam Smasher. He has been introduced
like
in
RoboCop
pen and
2.
paper in Cyberpunk 2020.
Like, he looks like
by
a version of
our,
RoboCop 2.
senpai Mike Pondsmith. Adam Smasher is a
The
fully
bad dude. I don't
converted
remember what it was called.
cyborg. He is
Looks pretty
an-
sick, though.
Who was
That's
always
crazy
a
suit.
loyalist of Arasaka.
Or whatever.
And time has changed, and in
Cyborg setup.
2077 he had to find his own space in Night City. But to find out, you'll have to play the game.
In this trailer, we do
There.
see some flashes of a Ripper Doc called Victor Vector. I think if people have watched our previous
What's your Vector,
gameplays,
Victor?
they might
Over,
remember
under?
him.
Roger,
but I'd
Roger.
really like for you
What?
to give the people at home some more information
Airplane
about
reference.
what Ripper Docs are and
Yes.
how they'll be interacting
Okay,
with
Boomer.
them when they play
I get it.
Cyberpunk.
Insert okay boomer
So,
joke here.
Reaper dogs in our game, they are surgeons. They are like a specific type of a job in the social ladder of Cyberpunk. They are accustomed and specialized in replacing limbs to the metal ones. They can basically update your body, enhance your body, change you into this.
this is where we
walking
mod
war
stuff.
machine. And as a
Get our
player, you're going
upgrades.
to meet different kind of Reaper dogs in the game, craft your own relationship with them. Some of them are like important characters for a story. Through that, you will invest eddies that you're gathering.
So we'll be able to
turn
have
your body into
different,
this tool that allows you to
NPCs
survive
that could
on the
mod us in
streets
different
of
ways, and we could build our
Howard,
relationship.
thank you
And
so much for joining
that's
us.
part of
I
the
know you'll be back
replayability.
later
It looks
in the
like is
episode
being
because
able
you're gonna be
to
helping us to analyze
have
the
different
Braindance
mods
gameplay.
to change different
But
playstyles
before
depending
that,
on the
we do have
NPC and our
some news to
relationship
share.
with them. Interesting.
Earlier in the year, we announced that if you pick up Cyberpunk 2077 on Xbox One, you'll be able to play it on Xbox Series X when the console
Yep,
launches.
they'll be able to
And
get it
just
for
in
free.
case you missed it, it will be the same for PlayStation players as well.
There you go.
If you pick up Cyberpunk
Although with the
2077
delay
on PlayStation 4,
of the
you'll
game-
also be able to play it on PlayStation 5 when the console launches.
With the delay of the game
And
till
that's
November,
all.
if
There will
the
be a free upgrade for Xbox
rumored
Series
leak is
X
true,
and
the new
PlayStation
consoles will be
5.
out before this
we'll
game
have more
is.
details
Like
on that soon.
it'll be very close. So
Before we reveal our first look at the Braindance gameplay,
Might not have to worry
welcome
about it.
back our developers for a chat.
If
There
you're
is
gonna
just
upgrade to a
one
new
more
console.
thing we want to announce, something that we've been working on in secret for a while.
oh boy,
We are very excited to announce our partnership with Studio Trigger and Netflix to bring you Cyberpunk Edgerunners, a standalone anime set in the Cyberpunk
Oh, shit.
universe, which we've been working on for some time now.
Oh,
Edge
shit.
Runners is due to launch in 2022, but for some more information, let's go to the team in Tokyo.
2 years from now, huh?
Hi, my name is Saya Elder. I am the Japan-based producer for Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
Could be a sick
What I do
anime, dude.
basically on this project is that
Definitely
I
look for
am
that.
a fixer, to put it in the words of the Cyberpunk universe. We are a game company. We are a bunch of nerds, and wherever there are nerds, there's going
Nerds
to
are
be
good.
anime fans.
Yeah,
So
it's
it
true.
was always a dream
True.
for us to make anime. When we began this project, we were certain that we didn't want to make a recreation of the game. Cyberpunk Edge Runners is a standalone story set in the same
Got that boomer
universe.
head not
The
going here.
stage is still Night City, but everything else is totally new. New characters, new story. I do like to think that it's
So
going
it's
to
in the
be a
Cyberpunk
great
universe, but
gateway for
new
newcomers
characters,
to come
new and different
check
characters.
Cyberpunk game and also
So
the
it's not
Cyberpunk
going to
genre
necessarily
as a whole.
be. I wonder if any of your characters from the game.
Right now we're in Nakano,
Will be, like, in
which
this
is
in
one
any
of the
way.
biggest anime meccas of the world. I'm going to take you to Studio Trigger right now because we have the wonderful opportunity to talk to the Dream Team that will be bringing you this anime.
こんにちは。トリガーの代表取締役の大塚です。
監督の今石です。
Wonder if they're going to have any like preview, anything to show us.
ゲームのサイバーパンクの
I mean, I would assume not if it's they
今
still
回
got
初めて触れる方
2 years for this is
に
ready.
満足していただけるようにアニメを作るつもりです。よろしくお願いします。
今回はそのサイバーパンクという僕らが10代の、一ファンにしか過ぎなかった頃に生まれたジャンル、そういうジャンルのものをまた、時代が何周もして作れるというのが非常に楽しみです。
トリガーも10年ということで、監督
I
に
wonder what other
キャラクターデザインに
animes they've made.
というトリガーの最強の布陣で、トリガー10周年にふさわしい作品にしていきたいと思います。お楽しみに。
All right, Cyberpunk Edge Runners, 2022. Definitely looking forward to hearing more information about
Now
that.
it's time to show you some gameplay of Braindance. This is a feature that you'll experience when you play Cyberpunk 2077.
It's pretty
Braindance
nice.
is essentially a recording
pretty
of
in general,
somebody
but-
else's experience. It allows you to relive their sense of sight, smell, touch, and even hearing, all thanks to a special device. After the gameplay, I will
Smell?
be welcoming back Pavel Sasko, and we'll also be joined by Patrick Mills, our senior quest designer and all-round lore master, who will be helping to answer your questions and give you some explanation on how you'll be interacting with Braindance when you play Cyberpunk 2077. So, let's take a look.
Well, let's take a
Plan
look.
simple. Do nothing odd. Don't get creative. You go in, snatch the cash, get out, and we sell the BD to those psycho freaks from the studio.
Got it.
And remember, everything on full blast. They'll spot us extra for a wicked adrenaline high.
Okay, on you go. Down, everybody, on the ground. I want to see you kissing the flooring. Money, now, or I will fucking drop you. I swear
You already
to God.
cocked the gun, I
Well,
think.
yeah, hey, now, before I blow your fucking head off.
She's out.
Ah!
The fuck? Oh, so it was like a
Slow,
recording
deep
thing.
breaths.
I got it.
Your cortisol and adrenaline spiked, but the soft activated your hormone blockers. Nothing happened. You're alive and well.
That was
Pretty sick.
too much. Could feel the guy's pain, his stress, his hope. Hope wrapped up in something else.
Mm-hmm. Probably took a booster just before. You'll be fine. Got everything set up? Let's switch over to editing mode.
Jacking into the Matrix here.
Sensory array, you'll be able to look around freely. Whole scene's yours. Full cam
That's pretty
control
cool.
in analysis mode, so move around, zoom in and out, whatever else you come up with. Think of it as your own little sandbox. So analysis mode, you control playback. Can even pause when you feel the
I'm interested to see
Then you use the editor.
Like the kind of content people are gonna create if you can like edit these scenes in different ways and what they can do with it.
Do nothing odd. Don't get creative. You go in, snatch the cash, get out, and we sell the BD to those psycho freaks from the studio.
Got it.
Cream as hell, right? Well, that's not all. You can speed things up or rewind, whatever you like. Give it a try. Rewind, roll it back to the top.
What the fuck?
All good, neat. Now try fast forwarding a bit.
Okay, so I mean,
Plan simple. Do nothing.
2077 VHS here.
Okay. You can also reset the recording. That'll take you right back to the beginning. Try it. Now for some fun. This here's why you came in the first place. In analysis mode, you get to view and even scan details of the enviro recorded by the BD roller. Focus on the heat, the gun this gonk gets from his buddy at the beginning. Now scan it.
Interesting. Wonder what this does.
Plan simple. Do nothing odd. Don't get creative. You go in, snatch the cash, get out, and we sell the BD to those psycho freaks from the studio.
Yep, fast forward, blah 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 blah.
Okay, right here. Excellent. Let's move on. Now heads up. In analysis mode, you can ferret out background noise and conversations if the roller got close enough. This tech records everything. Every little
I wonder what really the point is of this. Like, it's an interesting feature. Is this like the Arkham, you know, Batman Arkham, like detective mode stuff?
Okay, good.
Or is this something that people can just have as extra to play around with?
Choose one and hone in on it.
Pack of 6, case of Brosif, and a couple of zappers.
Brosif?
Okay, we have a deal today on 2 flavors, Cuddy and Surfing. Everybody,
So, any thoughts?
Unbelievable. Seriously, like what's happening right next to me.
Yeah, it's how BD recording implants work. They pick up everything, all the elements in the background. Then an editor tweaks them, makes them pop. Keep playing with the sound, explore it a bit. We'll move on when you get bored.
Yeah, I wonder just in this game what all it's gonna be about. Like,
Sometimes you can analyze extra layers in the raw, stuff the roller's cyberware picked up.
like again, if this is gonna be used for like some kind of detective mode to
Grab infrared.
flesh out certain things and discover things in quests, or if this is just something people get to like do and just play around with in scenes.
Scanning works on peeps too. Walk up to the wounded chick. Try scanning her. Alright, next thing. Scroll forward to the part where our artist gets a lead injection.
Or I will fucking drop you, I swear to God! Well, now, fucking head off!
Buddy shoots him?
See that? They shot him and he never saw it coming. But you will. Here it comes. My favorite part of the game. See the blinking thing over the entrance? Surveillance cam.
Mm-hmm.
Must have caught our shooter. You'll see in a sec. Cam feeds to the screen behind the clerk. Roll back to where the screen's in the kid's field of vision.
That's pretty sick. Yep, it was his buddy. That's pretty sick.
Own Chumba shot him. Probably planned to all along. Must have got a nice slice of cred on the black market for a BD like this. BD free.
Yeah, I wonder, like,
cream for a real flatline.
like, because this looks like a tutorial of this, but like, I wonder how much they're gonna hold your hand if like this is used in a quest for like a detective thing. Because that's one of the things I don't like in a lot of games, is like when you're doing this like search and detective shit,
pretty big
they hold
part
your
of the
hand and
cyberpunk
basically tell you
universe.
where to
It's
go
not
and what
just
to do and what to
something
look
used for
for.
adult films. There is an
Like,
awful
I want to
lot to
discover it
and
myself,
there's
so
two
I
sides
hope
I'd
that's
really like
something
you guys to help me explore. First is
that
the
is
lore.
in this game.
So
They
how
let you
this
kind of
actually
figure it out
fits into
yourself.
the universe, and then there's the gameplay side. So how players will be interacting with it. So Patrick, could you tell us more about the lore of Braindance?
I would love to. So in the world of Cyberpunk 2077, Braindance was invented way back in the early 2000s at UC Santa Cruz. It was developed as a way of recording a person's experiences and then playing them back for someone else so that they could relive them as though it was happening to them. It was originally used for things like therapy and prisoner rehabilitation, but by 2077, it's become this global media industry, including things like
that's what it would be
movies,
used for in real life.
mass entertainment, things like
people
that.
would pay a
Video
lot
games, some interactive
to
things,
experience
and of course,
crazy shit like
adult
that.
fare as well. Now, in our game, we deal a lot with black brain dances, or XBDs as we call them, and there are different types of those, but the one that you saw in the trailer just there was a flatliner. Now, that's where the person recording it actually dies during the recording, and it's popular with sort of an illicit kind of a thrill,
Yeah.
but
that would be
a
illegal,
mercenary
I'm
can
sure,
also
that people
use
pay
them
a lot for.
various things, and you'll see that in the game, of course.
And from the gameplay perspective, we have been working a lot throughout last years trying to figure out the best way how to use the Braindance in the game as a mechanics. So what we have settled on is this Braindance editor mode. As a player, you will be able to run the Braindance in the editor mode and see different clues that have been registered on the peripheral of given actor. Now, as a player, you can slide on the timeline of the recording back and forth, trying to
Yeah, it's pretty much kind of, it sounds like it's what I was talking about.
Clues are actually telling a story in the game.
I just
So,
hope, again,
as a
it's
player,
not
you
something
will
that they
run
hold your hand
different
with.
Investigations that will
And
lead
like,
you to different mysteries.
depending on the
and you
different
will
clues you
uncover
find
them
will depend on the
actually
different
using the
outcomes,
Braindance
and you might
as a
find
mechanics in the
different
game.
things in different playthroughs.
So, as Pavel was saying, we
That's
use
cool if it works
Braindance
that
as
way.
a storytelling tool. It's not a collectible. It's not something where you're going to go in and you're going to play it and you're going to be like, I've seen this before. What we use Braindance for is to give you a keyhole into the life of the residents of Night City. And we can explore things like childhood trauma, religion, various philosophical ideas in a way that you might not otherwise experience in a story about a mercenary on the
It sounds sick.
So we've tried to talk about some of the aspects that we think the community will find really exciting, but while you're both here, I'd love to know, what is it about Cyberpunk that you guys are really excited for? Patrick, why don't you start?
So one of the things that I'm most excited about in this game is the characters and the way they interact with the world. We've got this really interesting world that stretches all the way back to the Cyberpunk 2020 source material and all of these events and all of those things, but those don't mean anything unless they connect with characters. And so when we come up with a character, we start with their function. What is this person? What do they do in the story?
Mhm.
But we don't stop there. We go back and we figure out, what was their childhood like? What was their upbringing like? What kind of obstacles did they face in this harsh
So again,
reality?
like I was
And
saying
did
with
they
like
overcome them?
The
And
Witcher
how did they
3,
overcome them, or did they not overcome
really
them? Why?
fully thought
And you
out
can
and
see all of
fleshed
those
out
things
stories and
in
characters.
their environment, in their dialogue,
I like it.
in sort of how they operate in the world. And we come up with that for all of our characters. Now, you look at someone like
It's awesome.
Victor Vector, and you're going to see stories about
Already
his
made the
past
airplane jump.
in
Won't
his
do it again.
environment and in his dialogue. We come up with that stuff even if we don't use it in the game, because it helps inform us as to who these characters are.
And for me, I would
That's cool.
not be myself if I would not say that I'm the most excited about our quests. Like with our Witcher 3 team, with Patrick and like everybody that has stayed with us since the Witcher 3 time, we really have grown so much. We have learned so much, and we have used
Yeah,
all
shooting
that
people is
experience
probably better
to
than the
put them
vehicle itself.
into the quest that we have made. And you will not find really a filler in this game. Like everything has a meaning. Like we put so much effort into making sure that everything is rewarding, is interesting, is talking about characters, as Patrick said, is talking about worlds, is talking about emotions, like touching the player in a really, like a real way. And I just can't wait to find out what you think.
Pavel, I know you mentioned story and quests and writing quests, and when I was last in the studio, I had a look and I saw a notebook on your desk, and I would love for you to show everybody this notebook.
Spying on him.
You asked for
Running
it, so,
through his stuff, dude.
This is my notebook. It says Salsa Quest Designer. The
Salsa
reason
Quest
that
Designer.
I done salsa, and I'm a quest designer, so you know. So I started this notebook actually when we were really starting Cyberpunk. At the very
That's a
beginning,
lot of
I
crossed
wrote
out
like
stuff.
a first note, and it says pretty much something along the lines of that we're starting with a prototype. And then, I kept on basically noting things that we've been working on for like next years. I remember once when our concept artists actually approached me and they said that they want to take a look on my notebook. And I was like, what for actually. And
I wonder if
they took some pictures.
Siri is going to
they
be
told
an
me,
Easter egg
you know,
character in this game
because
that you
we are
run
looking
into,
for a reference
because
material
they
for
talk about
Cyberpunk
in The Witcher 3.
So
Spoils
yeah, well,
if you haven't.
You may find
I'm
maybe
across
some
that,
of
but
my
I mean,
notes,
game's been out for like 5 years now. I think it's a little late for that.
Pavel and Patrick, thank you so much for joining me. I'm pretty lucky because I have read some of the stories that you and the team have written for Braindance, and I'm pretty excited for people to discover them. But before we do finish today's episode, there is just one more thing we'd like to
One
talk
more
about.
thing. One more thing.
Earlier in this episode, I mentioned that media have been getting hands-on with the opening of Cyberpunk 2077, and
That's
they
a
should be
badass looking
posting
card,
their
dude.
impressions right about now. And if you missed anything from today's episode, don't worry, we'll be uploading everything to our channels very soon. And finally, on behalf of everybody at CD Projekt Red, we just want to say thank you so much for joining us for this, the very first episode of Night City Wire. But don't worry, we'll be back with episode 2 in just a few weeks. So, we shall see you soon.
There you go. Alright, so there you have it. That was episode 1 of the Nightwire series. Out of everything there, the thing that they really seemed to kind of talk about the most, and I kind of reacted to the most, was that whole Braindance, series they showed. It, like I said, I really hope that, for quests, if you have to do some, like, investigations and find things out, it's something where they don't hold your hand, and it's something where you find different clues, and maybe you don't find everything once, or maybe you find everything a certain amount of times, and depending on what you find, the outcome of the investigation changes, and that leads to more replayability in the future. Because in a lot of games, again, like the Batman games, or, some of the Assassin's Creed games, or even in The Witcher, where they had that kind of like investigation, mode that you can go through. They really kind of hold your hand, and just like you look at this thing, it tells you to go from point A to point B. You go to point B, tells you to go from B to C, and then eventually you find the conclusion. And it doesn't really feel, to me, satisfying. So I hope, if that is the case, if that is a game mechanic where you can investigate things and it changes the outcome of certain quests, that it's not something that holds your hand. So I look forward to that. Everything else they showed, looks good. The trailer they showed didn't really show off a whole lot of new stuff. But, it looks like an interesting game. I'm excited to hear more about the game, and I'm excited to play the game when it comes out. I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and hop into, I guess, Nightwire Part 2 coming up here.